And now, this week's edition of Big Face with your host, Samantha Jane Tilton.
Hey everybody, welcome to Big Face. I'm your host, Sammy Jane Tilton, and my guest today, actor, casting director, writer, Helene Galek. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me, Samantha.
I'm so happy that we finally got to do this.
I know, it's great.
So for those of you watching, listening, we met on a industry forum where we were working with other actors, kind of doing a Q&A, giving feedback on what to do, what not to do, all that good stuff.
Yep.
So how have you been?
I've been fine. I've been really busy. And I was going to say, I was just going to let the viewers, listeners know that, I mean, I liked everybody, but when I was watching Samantha Jane talk, I was like, oh my God, she is amazing. It's like, I have a little girl crush on her. You know what it is? I just responded to your heart and your energy. I mean, that's really what it is. And then we found out we both like big hair, the 80s.
We were just talking about that. I'm like, you know,
I
we were just saying, ditto, like your hair is fantastic. It's funny because she says that like she kind of was like about my energy, but we both, it's so interesting how energy works, right? Because
yes, very sensitive.
Both you had reached out and then I was like, I was going to reach out to you too. It was just so nice getting to hear you and how you care about the actors. And
well, same here. And I think that instinct, and I think you'll agree, not only is it work as an actor, but as a casting director, because a lot of times for casting, it is instinct. It's being very aware of energy and essence. And I find myself telling, especially female actors, if I call you in and you see the age that's next to the character, please don't think I think you're too old or too young. I know what I'm looking for.
Right.
Yeah, and you know that.
That's such a, you know what though, but that's actually good to hear because even though I work in casting and I know better, I'll get things sent to me a lot for, 45 to 50 or whatever. And I'm like, why am I even going in for this? But I'm like, you know what? I know in this business, a lot of times it changes and they never know exactly. So
it is. And then you want to be inclusive. You want to, okay, I'm going to give the younger, as young as I can go with the role, as old as I can go. And then some people, I wasn't, not that I wasn't mature in my real life, but in my 40s, you would never cast me as like the head of a business. It took me another 15 years to get there. And so, yet some people have it, right away. So that's really what it is.
It's so, I kind of have had the same thing. My old acting teacher would always say to me, he's like, you're only going to become more marketable with age. And I was always like, I never got what that meant.
Exactly. Me too.
Until it started to happen. And there's certain people. And it's funny because like you said, I always kind of feel like I don't fit into an exact range or kind of role. I don't know.
No, I'm the same way. And also, what's interesting, and this is something for actors too, society changes. So what was considered offbeat 15 years ago is mainstream now.
It's so interesting, right? I'm grateful for the changes.
Yes, me too.
Because I think you're probably, I feel like we identify. I'm not in I've never quite fit into a type. And usually, like, even if my picture does, when they meet me, they're like, my energy, so it's like, it's good to have all these different kinds of things.
It's so true. I agree. Yes.
So tell me, so you've been busy?
I actually have been busy. Well, first of all, I want to just give kudos to the artist community in general, because when the pandemic started, acting teachers and different places like Actors Connection and casting directors were saying free. I saw the word free and then I had to go back because I was like busy 10 hours a day. And I'm like, all right. But it was nice. They were like, here, we'll have a monologue challenge, or here's a free webinar.
Yes.
And we're all in the same boat and let's hold on to each other. And when I talked to some of my friends who are not in the business, they felt unanchored. And I was like, oh my God, I am so grateful to this community. So interestingly enough, one of them put a monologue challenge together. And I didn't win the big contest, but it got me to stop saying I don't write dialogue because I prefer writing first person narrative. So I did it and I tweaked it, and I already got to perform it in a night with other published playwrights, including Neil LaBute.
What?
So that was like, do I belong here? And like, no.
Hey, that deserves like a pause. That deserves a pause. That's amazing. That's amazing.
Yeah, it was just, it was an idea that came to me. It wasn't even based on something real. It was something, it's cute. It's a minute monologue. And it made the finalists in another presentation of monologues, but I'm going to be in it as an actor. So I'm doing a couple different programs as an actor, and then I'm casting 2 projects, and I'm taking acting class.
Amen. You are freaking busy.
I know. You know why? Because I don't have to travel. Right.
It's such a different, I know it's such a different planet.
Yeah.
It really is. Yeah. Can I ask, so what,
Absolutely.
When have you been taking acting classes during this entire time, or did you just start with a certain one?
I started in the summer. I was taking like short terms, there are some people 2 weeks, 4 weeks. And so there's this one teacher that I studied monologues with. For years I was like, oh, I don't need a monologue teacher. And I was like, nope, because self-tapes are monologues now. So now I'm taking the scene class, the ice cold and prepared scenes. I really like it. And I even signed up for a 4-week commercial class. I said, I don't even have a commercial agent. I have a manager, but I said, let me get ready, because that's the thing, too, nowadays, our whole business is hurry up and wait.
Yeah.
or wait, hurry up tomorrow. You have to, and like,
I know.
Yeah. So I'm taking that. I'm enjoying it. Yes. I'm taking like in small intervals. I would take a month off and then, take them again. Yes.
But it's nice because I've thought to myself during this time, I've been saying I need to get back, and I don't need to do anything. I really want to get back into a class. Yeah. I want to be working that muscle in that platform, because there's something different. I can work on things. I can do my auditions, but there's something about being in class that
it's really nice. And then, like you said, especially, not just us, but other actors, every year or two, you're going into another level.
Exactly.
In your career and in your characters and what you're seen as.
And exactly. And I think the best actors, they never stop growing. Just the same way our spirits, our beings, the very essence of us, we never stop changing, hopefully.
Yeah. Right.
Some people like being comfortable, but I've never been one of them.
Yeah. And even though I might get a little fright, but I one thing about getting older, which is great, if I get scared or I get nervous or I get upset that something wasn't as good, it literally lasts for 5 minutes. And then I'm like, all right, I'm bored with it. Let me go on. And I also have gotten to the age where I realize like the world's not going to fall apart if I goof up.
Right. I know.
Yeah. Like I sometimes send an email to the wrong person. The other day, she goes, I don't think you met me. I mean, I wasn't a personal, it was like a work. And I went, oh my God, I'm so sorry. But I said, thank you for pointing that out to me.
Yeah.
And when I was younger, I probably would have gone, oh my God, I'm so stupid. They're going to think I'm not professional.
Right.
I just went, sorry, thank you. And then went on. It's
because you're
amazing.
Human.
Yeah.
I'm very curious about this. When did you start acting? Was that your first thing before casting?
Well, interestingly enough, it was dancing, but
Wow.
Well, I like to say it began in utero, because my mother said when I was born in the hospital, they had to feed me first because I was the loudest. She swears it. And then she said on my first birthday party, that's when I took my first few steps. I really was walking because of the audience. And she put me into dance class when I was almost 5, and she created a monster. She didn't want me to go into business, but little girls, I played sports, and she goes, oh, ballet and tap's nice. The minute I was on stage and I felt comfortable and at home. So what was cool, because at that age, you're not in your head. You're going, oh,
exactly.
I like this. This is good. And
right.
So then, I danced for quite a while, but I didn't like keeping my mouth shut. So I went over to acting. I concentrated more on that. But then when I stopped dancing, when I came to New York, I couldn't get these meaty parts. I was the musical theater type. So I
Ah.
picked up my dancing and my singing again. And it was actually my dancing that got me a lot of work, because I was the
amazing.
actor, who sang well, but I danced better than a lot of the singers. And that's, yeah. So I got that. I know.
Wow.
It's like,
It's
look at me.
that's look at me, look at me. I had a guy friend growing up that he would always go, Samantha, I'm Samantha. Look at me, everybody look at me. I just always kind of had that in me.
Yes, I know. Sister from another mother.
Right? Seriously.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I've always been like that. Like, look at me, look at me. So it's so, but then I hit a certain age where I stopped being creative at all. And like the junior high and like caring what people thought and being cool and being insecure and, made fun of, all that stuff stopped. I stopped doing it for a bazillion years. And like you said, now you've been more comfortable, like as you've gotten older, like, yeah, it's okay if I goof up. And I feel like that's been my journey, is trying to be okay with messing up.
Well, I always say that every age has its rewards, or we'd never leave the crib. You just would stay in there all the time. So every time you get older, you might go, okay, I might do like, boy, I'm not as flexible as I used to be, or I'm not a size 4 anymore. But
Yep.
I have the mind and the self-confidence that I've always wanted.
Yep. I know. It's like that certain trait of like, and things lose their importance. Like for me, it used to be being that size 2 or whatever. That's not nearly, God, I'm very grateful. That's not nearly the most important thing in my life at all today, which is just such a gift. It took up a lot of my life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I remember this one time after a bad breakup, everything was going wrong in my life, but I had a great body.
Yep.
At one time, like that was your only saving grace.
Right? It's like I broke up. He's gonna really regret this now when he sees me, and I'm banging like a yeah.
Yep.
So funny. So you've been doing classes, and what's been going on casting wise? So tell all those people out there. So
Sure.
It's such a strange time.
It is. Well, my niche, which I found several years ago, was, I guess if I had to describe it, would be the ultra low budget indie market.
Okay.
And so that includes everything. I've done film and web series and plays and readings and live shows, voiceover. So what I did, right when the pandemic was starting, and this is something good for actors to know, I was casting a stage musical reading. And even then, the director producer decided, okay, the first round's going to be self-tapes.
Okay. Even then, huh?
Even then, because that's how you weed people out, because they have to act and they have to sing.
Yep.
So anyway, that happened. And then we had our first online auditions, and it was great. Like, we had a good time. We made people feel better. This was a younger cast, so they weren't as, they were definitely more comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Like, somebody set up in their bathroom and did this great musical number. And I was like, wow, I'm like so impressed right now. So so I did that, and I also recast a role last year. I cast a lip syncing drag show.
Ooh.
Spoof on the Real Housewives. It's called Housewives of Secaucus. What a drag! What, you want to get jealous when you see some of these men come in? You're like, I couldn't get it together.
You're like, you're gorgeous. What's happening?
I know, it's true. So I did that. And the 2 projects I'm working on now is I'm working on a filmed dramatic reading of a play. And this screenwriter, he's a playwright and a screenwriter, he's best known for Scarecrow, that had Al Pacino and Gene Hackman.
Yeah.
And I haven't met him yet, but we've been, on email, and he just seems like a really nice guy. And I've worked with this director before. And then I have another project where it's real tricky. We're looking, it's going to be filmed next summer.
Okay.
And it's a musical version of a cult movie.
Okay.
I'm on the lookout for the lead who they want as a name. So that's tricky because the real A-listers usually don't have time. And right now too, even people who'd be interested in, they don't know where they're going to be next year. So that's been a little tough. We thought we had one and I kept going back and forth. So the other producer and I are like, we're thinking, okay, who's at least known, who can sing, who can do this.
Right.
So I'm learning to deal with the agents and the managers and getting them what they need and getting their attention to do this project. So,
I mean, you have your own casting company.
Yeah, I guess if you want to call it that, sure. Yes, it's me. It's just
agency. Me. Yeah, it's just you.
It's just me. That's true.
And but that's when everyone asks me how I got into casting,
right?
So who do I work for, and do I work for myself? And it's like I freelance with everybody. So for you to have your own jam it's really cool. It's a lot of work casting, and for it to be on you to do all of that. I mean, people that don't know the business as well, they don't understand how much work that is, but for it to be all on you, that's right. A lot.
Yes. And I'm very grateful. I have a lot of help too. I have a big community.
Yeah.
So I said, hey, can I put my posting on your page? I have my own casting page on Facebook.
Yeah.
But I'm in a lot of playwright acting groups, so I spread it around. So that really helps too, because we all know, and I try to help other people too when they're stuck. I said, oh yeah, I know so many actors, call this person up.
Right.
Yeah.
And I know. I feel like but that's the best when we have people that we could just, I don't know. That's how I am too. It's always like, oh, you need that? All right, let me think of who I know, or let me at least reach out or put that out there for you. It's like, it's great when we can all just kind of make stuff happen together.
Yes, because we all depend on referrals. And that's how you get everything in life. You get not just acting work, you can get 9-to-5 jobs, you can get apartments, boyfriends. I don't know. It's all referral.
It's always the best stuff is by referral. Cause for me, I always find I do the footwork and whatever that may be, I put it out there. I try and whatever I'm looking to put out there. Right. But then it never really comes back to me through the avenues that I put it out there. Ever. Like, it's almost like I'll be putting that out there and I'll be, reaching out to and then somebody thought of me because they talked to somebody, and it's like had nothing to do with any of the people I reached out to. It's pretty fascinating.
It's great. Well, that's that whole law of attraction. It's like you're the one who has to push the first domino down, and then the others follow. And that's why I've learned, and I try to share it with other people, that even if you're not doing anything and things look like you're in despair and it looks like nothing's happening, do an action, do something. One time when I wasn't getting casting work for a while, I just sent an email out to everyone I ever worked with and just said, hey, I'm just saying hi, if you need me, like you said, you do the work, you take a class. And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, it seems,
exactly.
But it is where, yes. So, you've hit on something that's very important. Yes.
It really is. And it's, a lot of people are like, how did you start casting, and how'd you start working for this person? And you just said referrals. It's also like, I don't know, like Helene and I are having this conversation right now because we both were being caring, thoughtful, like we were being ourselves and nice people, and we both vibed with each other.
Right.
And that's how we're having this conversation. I feel like that's always the best. If whenever I just bring myself and the best version of that, or I try to at least.
Yes.
That's usually like somebody's like, oh, she was good. You know what? Oh, if you need her number, blah, blah, blah. And that's life, right?
And and that's how it works. In fact, one of the director, actually, the male director I'm casting for now, we met. I don't even remember us meeting, but when he mentioned where he met me, I knew I was there. It was, and it was, so I worked with him actually last summer.
Okay.
And as you know, the nicest thing is I just got an email. We're preparing for callbacks and we're going to do them on Zoom. And it's just so nice when the writer even says, he wanted to look over the material because they're both co-producing, and that's important. That's an important thing for actors to know too. When in the ultra low budget area, we're not talking network TV or Netflix, the writer and the director are often either one or both the producers. So I can push in, I can put my 2 cents worth, but they're the final decision. So anyway, the nicest thing is getting an email from this writer I mentioned saying, wow, you've really amassed some great talent. And too, when someone says, wow, thanks for your submissions, that you just made our job very hard.
Yeah.
That's really what you want to hear.
You really want to hear that. Exactly.
Yes.
That's so wonderful.
Yes.
That's really, really wonderful.
And I love it. It's creative, just like acting is, as I'm sure you feel.
Yes. A lot of people want to do one thing in this business. They want to act, and I understand that. I never wanted to do anything else besides act.
Yes.
But it was just by saying yes. Have you ever seen the movie Yes Man with Jim Carrey?
No, I haven't.
I tell people about this movie all the time.
Okay, I'm gonna look for it.
It's a good movie and it's funny, but I swear it changed my life. And it's a comedy, but I used to say no or maybe, or I'd like not feel like it, so I'd weasel my way out of things. I used to just be kind of a slave to my feelings or where I was at emotionally, and like kind of just, no, I don't have it in me. And then I started showing up and just saying yes to everything, and it really changed my life. It changed my life. I can say it was to every date, whether I was into the guy or not, I just said yes. What's the harm? I'll go out and I'll meet another human. So on my worst dates, I was happy I said yes because I got to know somebody I wouldn't have known otherwise.
Right.
And it's like every single thing, it teaches me about something in the world, And so with this business, I wanted to act.
Great. Yes.
I never knew I would love teaching and directing. I had no friggin' clue.
Yeah.
I had no clue.
It's so amazing and I think that's something that's happened, especially during this time, that to me, when the possibility, well, now I had time to write. So the possibility, and do you want to do this? And do you want to do that? And instead of going, I'm like, all right, yes. And if I see some group going, oh, we're doing a reading, we're looking for people. Oh, okay. And
yes,
I'm finding that a lot too. Yeah. And then I also know about, overcrowding the schedule. Right. So then I have been good about going, okay, I have to decide what I want to concentrate on and what is important, because I started taking this. I wanted to learn about investing because I know nothing about money. And I thought I should. And so this one guy, and I know he's good. I got to the 5th unit, and then I felt between the 5th and the 6th, there was a disconnect. I didn't get it. So I may buy Investing for Dummies,
That's great.
But I knew that I also had to pull it back going, okay, right now there's too much going on. Put it on the back burner. You'll get to it someday, and really focus on your passions. It wasn't a huge passion. It's just something like, I really would like to know what they're talking about. So.
I know. And it's so funny because like what we're talking about, I don't know things. I didn't know anything about investing and things like that. My brother's very into that. And so he helped me. And I do not know a lot, but I know at least a little bit that I started figuring out what to do and how risky to be and this and that. And my brother started like consulting with people and, helping them just to get the basics. And it's just so funny. So like, he's the nicest, and he's just like, he loves it. So if you want like to talk to somebody about it or whatever, I'll connect you.
Okay, well, I'll put
Side
that.
note.
See
Side
now,
note.
if I hadn't mentioned that, I wouldn't have known the connection. So
that's what I mean. It's like
I showed an example.
It's so funny, right? And
Right.
one of my cats is meowing like a crazy person. Hold on. So we're gonna pause for 1 sec, guys, and we're gonna give Charles Xavier some food. Hang on. Right? When I'm hungry, I'll meow like a mad lady.
Oh yeah. I either get the hangry or I start going like this, and I'm like the computer that the ball's going around. I'm like, but I'm hungry.
Me too. My brain either all of a sudden I get real foggy and I'm like, I need to eat. I can't even move forward until I eat.
Yes.
Or I get like, nope, conversation done, food first. Can't do anything else right now.
Right.
Like,
No, I'm like that too. Yeah.
it's so
Especially
funny.
afternoon.
So
I had a snack before we met.
me too. I was like veggie burger,
Tacos.
fish. Nice. I've been wanting to make like fajitas lately. I'm a vegetarian, but I could still do it.
Warm out. It probably is the summer. weather
Yes.
Bringing that out.
I haven't been outside today, but I heard it's beautiful.
I did. I went out. I'm one of those people that look for the sun. So if I see this sliver, I'm like sit up in the restaurant. Oh, here's where the sun's coming in. Okay. I have it for 15 minutes. I know. It's crazy.
It's so awesome. There was so much. What's your favorite thing to do?
Wow. That's a tough one. Be with people. And even though I know we're mostly being with people on the screen, I still feel like I'm getting something out of that.
You mean like especially during this time?
Yeah, especially now because I'm my I call it my pod. I guess people are using that expression.
Yeah.
I'm only seeing a couple people. I'm being really careful.
Yeah.
But because I have these rehearsals and weekly meetings and I've had different interviews,
Yeah.
I feel like,
That's
oh
great.
my God, I at least I'm talking and I'm acting and I'm conversing. So I'm keeping that part of it. And, in the city too, you talk to strangers, you go out. And
Yeah.
somebody's in the park, you make a comment, like, oh, we have a cute dog. And they're like, yeah. And then,
It's so funny. My friend always laughs at me because we'll walk around the neighborhood. She lives a few blocks from me. And like, I'll just like stop people on the street. I'm like, oh, those are cute. Did you get the blah, blah, blah? And she's like, oh my God, Samantha, I can't. You're like, she's always like, you're like the mayor around here. Like,
right? I know. He's like, oh my God, I love those boots. Where did you get them?
I like stop people and they're like, what do you want? And then they're like, oh, you're just being nice. Like, you don't want anything. I'm like, yeah, you look great.
And I think nowadays people are more apt to talk because you're really, people go, well, how am I going to know how to smile? I go, oh, you're with your eyes.
With
and
your
you know
eyes.
what? I love little kids. When you smile at a little baby kid, they know you're smiling.
They know.
They're
They
so
really,
smart.
So much is in our eyes.
Yes,
So
the
much.
windows of the soul.
They really, I remember my acting teacher saying that.
Mine too. Yeah.
Really?
That's where I got it from.
I remember him telling a story, and it was about one of his relatives, maybe it was his grandmother or somebody, but they were on their deathbed and they couldn't move and they couldn't speak. He said, but I knew everything just by her eyes. And and it's so true. And that's what they say about headshots, right? In our business. And that's what, when anything is being filmed, what's happening in your eyes? You know immediately if it's believable. Is there something being thought of and felt? You know immediately. Exactly. I mean, I know immediately. I can tell.
Yeah. And then and also like in film work, if you're, whatever the actor's thinking, they would have the thing called the actor's secret, like whatever you need to make your role. And if you're really into it, the audience fills in what you're thinking.
100%. Yes. Because they're moved and then stuff starts turning in them.
Yes.
I love that you said your favorite thing is to be with people.
Yeah, it is. It's fun. In fact, this is the first year that I did not have a birthday party. My birthday was actually 4 days after the shutdown. So, and it's funny, and I always have more than one because
yes,
I'm busy. I have a lot of friends. They're busy. And
that's lovely.
It's so funny. I've streamlined. I used to have 12-hour parties, huge parties in sports bars. In the last couple of years, I've started doing happy hours because my birthday's in March and it's usually cold.
Yes.
And people like it. And it's also, reasonably priced so they can afford it.
It makes it easier.
And then, what I got, because I'm like a host, but in the last few years, it was more fun to be in my party than to host it, to be in with people.
I absolutely understand that.
Ones. So I remember that day I was sitting at home. I answered every Facebook happy birthday, at least with a THX exclamation point. It was almost 800.
Wow.
I know. And I got the emails and I got phone calls and My friend who's been staying with me, we had champagne and cake, and I went, wow, you really are mature now because you can enjoy your birthday just like this. Like, you don't have to have like a zillion friends at your parties. This was a good day, you know.
It's funny. I'm the same. I used to have everything had to be a big party and this and that. And as I got older, it's interesting. I loved being with so many people. I always had big groups of friends.
Mhm.
And then as I got older, I like cherish my time with one other friend or like three, like small. I almost can't, if I'm around too many people, I feel like I almost don't actually get to be with them.
Right.
Like I'm more like like
You're
floating
like,
around.
You're the host. You're like the
Right.
professional host throwing an event.
Exactly.
Just check in with people. Yes.
Right. And then I like to just I'm like, but I feel like I didn't actually get to be with them. And then I feel sad.
Yes. No, I hear you. It's so true.
So what was I gonna say to you? So with regards to like acting and stuff right now, have you done anything throughout all this?
Besides being on Zoom, Zoom performances, yes. But next month, I will be filming a web series episode. I did the pilot episode actually a year ago.
Wow.
And the trailer has been around and we've been winning awards. So I'm one of the supporting people. You'll like this. I'm playing a cynic who likes to drink a lot. Like, I'm not a fall down drunk, but I'm dealing with the women that I'm dealing with. I'm like, where's cocktails? So we're going to be filming that actually next month. I think it's the first episode or the first two. I don't know if it's a whole episode, parts of one, but doing that. So that'll be fun. That'll be really the first time. My last live performance was in February. I was in a one-act festival.
Wow.
So in December, as I said, it's called Perry Street, by the way. That'll be
awesome.
The first time I will be performing with other people outside of the screen since February.
And I asked because I spoke to a friend today, one of my very close friends who's an actor, and I was saying, how are things shooting right now? Like, is it safe? It's bizarre. And he's like, shit's back to normal. Like it's not normal, but he's like, New York, we're doing so well. He's like, they're back to shooting stuff. And I'm like, I get it, but it's still so bizarre to me. Like I have an audition for a film that's shooting in Virginia. And so I have to get that in, but it's like 10 pages and they want you off book, but it's like, I know, like that's a lot.
Yeah.
So, but I'm like, it's so crazy. I'm like, so you shoot and it's like for at least a week or something like that. But so there's lodging and all that stuff. And I'm in my head and I know you got to do everything, but I'm just like, is it safe? Like, I don't know. It's just such a bizarre thing to me.
Well, I don't think we have a problem to worry for union.
Yeah.
They're very strict. It's the non-union people have to be careful. I don't know. I do get your feelings. I mean, I do get, because it's out of New York and we know in New York.
Right.
So I see postings from friends who have also filmed. They've done their co-star.
Yeah.
Or they've done their film work and they'll actually describe what it's like with, you don't get, there's no more craft table. You get
right.
Food, this is sanitized. You have to come in with a COVID test. You have to have it before you go in. So
that's good.
I understand your feelings because you're in another state. But as I said, if it's a union project, they're not letting them. I don't think they're letting them get away with sloppiness. Okay. And that's how I feel. I also feel that the other part is. You still have to keep taking care of yourself. I mean, beside the washing, like sometimes some people are just are acting like washing hands is a new thing, or sanitizing. Like even when I lived totally alone, as I said, I've had a friend been staying with me for almost a year. Oh, wow. I would still in the winter buy Lysol and any like doorknob or handle or anything. and I lived by myself, and I was wiping like the back of my bag because I have a tendency to throw my bag on the floor.
Yes.
So I was doing that anyway. And that was another thing about age. Because I remember when I was younger, I go, oh, there's a party tonight. Okay. Now I go, wait. Ginger, get my ginger tea out, put a hot bath, and get into bed, and then I don't get sick.
I know. It's like not worth it. It's like I could go to the party, but I already know this is going to be bad, and it's like not worth it today. It's
no,
really
you
not.
don't care. When you're younger, you're like, whatever, and that's probably why I used to get sick when I was younger. But being older, I'm probably my healthiest now because I'm paying attention to the all the boring stuff, the vitamins and.
Yep.
Drinking water.
Yes.
So as I said, well, first of all, fingers crossed, break legs.
For me, I was like doing it for you. I'm like, it's going to be great.
And I love your purple nail polish. I usually wear purple. You know what I did?
Thank you.
I don't know if you can tell, they got sparkles.
Oh, are they kind of like a
sparkles? Yeah.
Those are they're like nice and metallic. I like that.
Yeah, but I love yours. I was always purple, and my shades changed with the season.
That's what I'm like. I just dug this one out, I think 2 days ago, and I did my nails, and I was like, thank you. It's
great.
I was in the mood.
I think I think knowing all this, if you do get cast, they'll probably want you to get a test. They'll probably want you to quarantine. So as long as they're following those rules.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. Where are you? Like, where have you been
on the
stationed?
Upper West Side.
You are? Okay.
I'm in
nice.
In fact, it's so funny because right now, it gets dark so early.
It's so weird.
I was testing my light because I have a light behind it, but I had to close my blinds because I'm on the west side and I'm right over the river. I love this in the winter. You get that late afternoon sun, but I had to put my blinds down. I go, oh my God, she's not going to see me. I'm going to be swathed in sunlight. Yes.
So funny because I live in a studio with my boyfriend, and he has sensitive eyes to like, he's always on the computer screen for work, and like he gets migraines. So he'll be like, can I shut the blinds? And I love all the natural sunlight. And he's always like, I'm like, okay. So like it's dark in here other than like the lights and stuff,
I know.
Well,
that's tough. I know with the eyes. So which neighborhood are you in?
I'm in Queens. I'm in Rego Park,
which
nice.
Is,
so
Rego Park. Very nice.
Yeah. It's nice over here. It's just, it's numbers started getting bad again, and we're like crazy. So we quarantine like crazy.
Well, see, that's another thing too, and I noticed too, even in the city, Manhattan was good and they're still good. But I noticed all summer, like where people were careful during the week, I would go into the park and the restaurants and people were getting close, and I'm looking at like a group of 10 going, I don't think you live in the same house. Be that close. And I kind of wanted to, I'm not going to be the police, but part of me was going, I don't think the virus takes off weekends.
Do you want to hear the craziest thing?
Yeah.
And I don't even think I told just my boyfriend about this, but I was walking down the block from me, and they had a table set up for within 2-day COVID testing. So, because things were starting to get worse in my neighborhood. So they were set up outside of one of the stores. And no joke, I walked past, one of the 2 people manning the booth is not wearing a mask. I have a picture of it because I could not believe it.
Oh my God.
I was like, not safe for anybody else, but also, if people are coming over to you, it's because they maybe think they have COVID, or like, just like, or they,
crazy.
Why would you not be wearing your mask?
It sounds like, do you remember, I'm a little older than you, so you might not. Do you remember Highlight magazine?
Yes.
Yeah. Do you remember Goofus and Galek? Galek wears a mask when there's a pandemic. Goofus doesn't really want.
I know. It's so crazy.
Oh, yeah.
I thought that's, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
So, yeah. So I know people will want to know this, so I'll ask.
Sure. Ask anything.
How do you, as a casting person, how do you go about finding your actors? How do you, people ask me this all the time, like, will you put me on your Rolodex? How do you remember people, blah, blah, blah. So I'll ask you.
Okay. Well, it's a combination of things. I used to go to first of all, I used to go to showcases when I could. And there was something called Theater Resources Unlimited. They would have one of these a whole weekend, and I got to see legit actors and musical theater actors. So I would go there, and I actually still have a headshot file, which I still use. Whenever I'm even in a class or I'm in one of my groups, I always say, please send me your headshots, whenever you want. And it's so funny because I'm actually offering that. And then when I see a show, even we're not leaving the packets anymore. So I give the card, and most of the time I go to a show, I already knew somebody in it.
Yeah.
And I said, please tell your cast they were amazing. Have them send it to me. Do you know how many people don't take advantage of that and then wonder why they don't get called? And I even tell people too, okay, it's not like I'm working on a network show, but a couple times a year, write to me, tell me what you're doing, but you should have your little thumbnail picture in your signature.
Yep.
In case I don't quite remember, I will probably when I see you. But as I said, I get referrals. And then this is another thing, which I always believed in, even before I had representation. I try to tell actors, it's not always about, yes, for agents and casting people for television and everything, but in the indie market, become friends with the directors and the writers. And you know this because no matter what project I'm casting, the director is going to say, I want to see these people, put them in the schedule. Or a writer, I want to see these people.
Yep. And it's, it goes, for me, I completely agree with that. And I think it goes back to when I'm on set or I'm with really anywhere in life, but let's say within this career, if I'm anywhere, everybody's a person that's interesting. So I'm like social with everybody. Right. I don't even know if they're the writer, the director, whatever, but and that can't hurt to just put yourself out there to ask about people, to connect with people. People want to feel that they are interested in, that they're, yeah. I don't know how to phrase that.
I understand. I know, just even from this dramatic project, I'm calling back an actor that I had cast in a webisode last year because I saw him in a play several months before. And it's funny, it was actually a role he was miscast in. And I remember watching, going, okay, this isn't working for me, but I had a feeling it wasn't the actor. It just was the role. I mean, you see that with celebrities where you go, okay, I know this person's a good actor. This role is not the best fit.
Yes.
But I also, it helped. He was a Latino and I needed one. And then I knew he was a good actor, but then when he did it, and he's so nice and he's respectful. Well, he's a rep now. So when I called him back, he goes, Helene, do you mind contacting my rep? I said, no problem. Right. And he just, again, kept at it. So yeah, I see. I'm also in a couple of Facebook groups, that are like, I don't know if they're private, they're invited, but they're actors too. And so I trust referrals.
Yes.
Especially when I'm looking for a drag queen or someone that looks like a teenager or more people of color.
Yeah.
I really work hard on that, or a trans actor. I know some. I remember the ones I know are older, and I was casting a reading. And it was just an in-house reading. And I went, no, I'm not going to cast a female or a male. I want to cast the way the playwright said it. So I was looking around Facebook and I saw this group. And so I private messaged the administrator and she said, okay, well, you can't join the group. You're not a trans person, but I will take your audition posting.
That's great.
And put it on, and I got who I wanted. And
that's wonderful.
And I actually use Facebook a lot. This is a funny story. I was casting a trailer for a film, and it was sort of a Black Panther meets a horror story. It was really cool. It's gonna have the roots in Africa. So nice. I was trying to send her a lot of the African American men I know. And she says, no, it's not. He's not working for now. It's not. So I went, okay. And then you know how when they say people you should know?
Yeah.
Because usually they're actors because, well, we've never met, but somehow we have 50 friends.
Right.
So one of those scrolling. And then I went to this one guy and I went, oh, I really like the way he looks. So I got in touch with him. And he replied and he auditioned and he got the role and he turned out to be African, actually, which we didn't require. But anyway, he turned out to be the most wonderful person. We had the premiere, met his wife. It was just, and that was just like going with my gut. Because
that's why you're good at what you do.
Yeah.
There's something to be said about instinct and
yes,
that awareness and being able to tap into it.
I have a question for you. What's your zodiac sign?
Oh, I'm like, what is my Taurus.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Why?
Because I don't think I would get Taurus right away.
People are always, whenever I say Taurus, people are always surprised.
Do you know your rising and your moon? Because that influences. You have to have your chart done.
I know. I even tried to get an app once because people would always ask me and I'm like, I don't know. The only thing I ever knew, because it's all very interesting to me, as a matter of fact.
Yes.
But it was always confusing and I tried to learn, but I never had anybody to like explain it to me. But the only thing I ever knew about signs was that Aries men were very bad for me. That's all I knew. I knew it. It was like, and I only learned it and I started to believe in things with people's signs because it was like one after the next of these people that I was so drawn to.
Right.
And then I started to be aware when I was really drawn to somebody, I'd be like, what sign are you? And sure as hell, they were an Aries.
That's so funny. I'm a Pisces. And even though I'm on the cusp of Aries, Aries, I'm very close to Aries. I always like to tease Scorpio men. They're heartbreakers. I'm attracted to them, but they're heartbreakers.
Yep. That's another one. Because they're like, yes, that one's not great for me.
Yeah, I just thought because I'm looking at it and I thought, okay, she's got a lot of Leo.
I was going to say, what would you think I was?
Maybe a Gemini, but definitely Leo, because Leos are, well, first of all, the hair. They're supposed to be the natural leaders and teachers and multidisciplinarians.
That's so interesting.
You never know. As long as you know the exact time that you were born.
Yeah.
Your chart. Yeah.
I do know the exact time. I want to figure that out. That's really cool.
Yeah.
Because I think people have told me, I think it's all very interesting. The Gemini thing, I think I've heard before.
Yes.
It's really interesting. You're so interesting and lovely.
Oh my God, stop.
You really are. I'm so
Thank
glad
you.
that I got to meet you.
I love talking to you, which I don't think you'll have your listeners want to listen to 5 hours of us, but we could go on for 5 hours.
But we could go on for 5 hours.
A marathon.
We could definitely.
Who can keep talking and not just go, I don't know. Who could keep bringing subject matter and talk?
I feel like it's really funny because I already could tell that we would go, but what about you? Like back and forth.
Because I don't want it to be, and this is something else too I just want to throw in for actors.
Please.
Because so many times actors are asking, well, especially when we were meeting one-on-one.
Yeah.
They ask questions about, I know what it was. So you're meeting an agent or a casting director, whether it's SAG Open Call or one of these places, and they're asking you questions and you're so busy going, well, yes, I did this and this is what, and I always remember to go, well, what do you like to do? Or how did you get started? Because then it stops being an interview and actually is a conversation.
Yeah.
And first of all, getting to know them as a person, helps.
Yeah.
But it gets it off of, it's like Meisner, it gets it off of you.
Yeah. It's so interesting because when there was one time in my life where I was like, I was going through like a lot of changes emotionally. And so I was very anxious, like when I was with other people.
Mm-hmm.
And like, one of my spiritual mentors was just like, ask people about them. You don't need to talk about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need to. And it was like the greatest thing because I love knowing about people and I genuinely care, but like, it was like, oh, great. This is not about me at all. And then I wasn't even thinking about it because I was with them.
Right. They tell people like who are shy, like, I don't know what to say, because I remember being in junior high and I think, I've always played with the boys. Like,
Yeah,
yes,
me
I
too.
love my dolls, right? But I also played in the dirt, collected bugs, climbed trees. I was always very athletic. And I was lucky that I was able to hold both of those. So to me, boys were just friends. In fact, in some ways growing up, they might have been easier to be with than girls. Like I remember not getting the girl friendship until I was older because I think our society sometimes pits us against each other.
Yes.
So I remember in junior high, two girls came up to me and they go, "Can we ask you something?" And I went, "How do you talk to boys?" And I just went, "I don't know. I open my mouth." It just comes out. But I think it's because I didn't look at talking to them as any different because I saw them as a person than I would talk to a girl. In fact, as I said, I used to feel more comfortable because I felt they were more accepting of me, you know, especially at that junior high age.
Yeah, it sounds so counterintuitive that like we would feel more comfortable or accepted, but most of my closest friends were guys.
Yeah.
I did have some close girlfriends.
I did too, but yeah, generally.
Yeah, it's really interesting. And I was never ever nervous talking to guys until there was like, oh, you're going to go on a date with this person, or you like this person, he likes you. And then I was so nervous and self-conscious because it wasn't just, it took this thing, and it made me crazy when I was younger.
Oh no. I mean, when I got crushes on somebody, I remember even in my 20s, I was on the phone and outwardly I'm like, la, 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 la. And I hang up the phone and I'm like, oh my God, I am so sweaty. And like I was going through all of this, like, you know, that's different though. That means you care.
Yeah.
And everything. Yeah. But that's funny.
I say that when people get nervous about auditions and stuff, and I'm like, I don't think it's a bad thing. I think it just means something. It matters, and it's, you know, and it gets. I remember when somebody once told me that feeling nervous is really the same exact thing as feeling excited.
I know that too. Yeah, it's so true.
And it's just the way. And once when I'd get nervous, if I looked at it like that, it kind of took that anxiety away from it.
Yes.
It just.
Yes.
And it was like,
they always say, I remember my first acting teacher said, you always want to feel something. Like, even if I've been doing a show for a while, you want to feel, I mean, you don't want to be paralyzed, but you want to feel that before I walk on, I get that, the minute I'm on stage, then it's like the lights me and I've relaxed. It's the anticipation. But that's good because they said once you stop feeling anything, then you're just going to go, robot. Yes, it is nice to get to a place where, okay, I've been doing the show for a while, so I'm not petrified, you know.
Right.
But, you know, on stage, you never know what's going to happen. So,
Stage is so different. Stage is so different. It really is. Theater, they say theater's going to come back 2021.
Yeah, hopefully by this time. Yeah. I mean, that has a bigger job because, because of the financial thing. Because even if you say, okay, well, we're going to just seat everybody one seat apart, but can they afford to do that? So hopefully with somebody sane leading us now. Yeah. Maybe. But I also think, you know what the government should do? And I don't mean the president. I mean, and this is what I tell people all the time. The president is like the CEO. You want them to lead and give you a plan, but it's really the immediate. And people always ignore voting for their state senator and their mayor and their congresswoman. They make the decisions that actually affect your life more.
I just had this conversation the other night.
I said, don't ignore those elections, you know, because sometimes I have people, you know, they're my friends, they're homeowners. Yeah. Well, I have to pay so much. I go, that has nothing to do with whoever's right. It could be the worst president. That's got to do with who is in your neighborhood, who is in your township. They're the ones making the rules. Exactly. So I kind of feel that way with theater coming back. What we're going through right now, we've never experienced in our lifetime. Yep. Yes, it was 100 years ago, but not in our lifetime. Yeah. We cannot use the same blueprints. We have to think like FDR did. What is something new we can do? And what I would like to see is the local government working, not just with Broadway producers, but with actual creative people.
Yeah.
With the costume people, with the directors. They need another kind of thinking on their team.
Yep.
Because if they're going to try to solve this in the old way, I don't think it's going to work.
Nope.
Yeah. So like you said, they need to say yes. They need to be open to possibilities.
Yes. Open-mindedness,
Yes.
you know, willingness, it changes everything.
And creativity.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, oh, go ahead.
No, please.
No, I was going to say, but even the city, I mean, I don't know how much they're charging them, but even when the city saw the restaurants, they were like, all right, take the sidewalk up. You know, most of the time,
I know.
you had to wait months to get permits. They're like, no, build stuff on the street.
I know.
Whatever you need to do. No, and I applaud that.
Yes.
So anyway, that's what I was.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Oh, not even a little bit. I'm so happy. All right. So I wanted to ask you,
Yes.
there is a portion of my show that is called The Feather in Your Cap.
Okay.
And by feather in your cap, I mean a success or an achievement that you've had or something that you've learned that serves you in your life or that may serve you in the future. And I just wanted to know if you have one that you would be willing to share.
Oh my God, that's so heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I have to say I have several of them.
Shoot.
What have I learned? Yeah, I'll tell you what. There's something that happened to me when I was younger, and like you said, in my 20s, I was a neurotic mess.
Yeah.
Kind of. You know, I worked. You know what it is also nowadays? Okay, sometimes I feel nowadays there's almost too much information, but in those days there wasn't any information.
Yeah.
And you know, now we have books on dealing with, like you said, like the nerves or dealing with the spiritual part of being in the business. And we didn't then. So I was very excited. I was chosen out of a lot of people. I got to work with Maya Angelou.
Wow.
And her book, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, came out just in high school. And I remember I went to a very progressive high school. So when we were seniors, we had to find like a new book and stand up in front of the class and say why it should be included in the library. And so, I read that. It affected me so much. And I shared it with my mother and she loved it. And then a few years later, her musical was asking for auditions. And so I went, and then I went, and I went. It was like 3 callbacks, and I got in. And while I loved it, I was like, this is how I thought when I was in my 20s. In fact, Maya sat down and talked to me because I would look at the girls, and 2 of them were like amazing singers. Like I was a really good singer, but these were amazing. Wow. Then 2 of the dancers were real dancers. I danced, but they were dancers. So I would sit there and I had trouble with, I felt like, I'm not good. I'm not as good as they are. I'm not as good as they are. And so I was like really like depressed. So while we were on break, Maya calls me over and she goes, what's going on? I just don't feel, and I told her I don't feel as good as them. I don't feel it. She goes, I cast you because of your spirit and what you added to the show. And you are the unofficial swing. She goes, because you're the only one that could step into the singers if one of them got sick and to the dancers if one of them got sick.
Wow.
And that was so great because like you said, I always felt like I fell between the lines. I wasn't as good. I wasn't as good as her. I wasn't as good because I kept looking like that. And it wasn't until the last 10 years, because now there's seminars and classes and workshops about, loving your whole self and everything.
Right.
So that's one of them. That's
so beautiful. Because I just identified with that so much.
Yes.
That compare and despair.
Yes.
And like, but they do it better, or they are like this and they have that. But nobody had what you had. And like, that's what I was thinking. I was like, but you were cast for a reason. Right. But it's like, at least for me, I'm always like, but I'm not as good as, or they can do. And it's like, but I can do what only I can do. I can bring what only I can bring.
And you know that now. Did you ever sit in a room? I mean, I stopped doing this. I think that's why casting helped. But I used to sit, with the other girls and go, oh my God, she looks so much more like the part than I do. I do that all the time.
I know. And
It's like,
isn't that just such a waste of our energy, of what service we could be to everything that we come to each day?
yes.
It's just getting out of again, what about you? Like thinking, and I tell that to actors and for myself, whenever I'm nervous about an audition or when I would go into the rooms and I would be in my head thinking about me, what immediately gets me out of that is, how can I be of service to this material? How can I be of service to the people in there? How can I make their day better by doing a good audition? Like,
yeah, you flipped it around.
Yeah.
That's excellent. That's an excellent advice.
I always, it's just like everything else. If it's about me, I'm in a dangerous neighborhood. But if it's about others, if I'm just being of service, I don't have to worry about what I'm doing, how it is.
Yes.
I can be there for others, for it.
That's so great. And also I find that is very important. And I've also discovered that when I'm auditioning, and I've only had 2 auditions on Zoom, and they were from friends of friends, but I still, actually, you still have a little pressure. It's like, oh, so-and-so, referred me. I want to do a good job. But I let myself, I find the joy. I'm reading, like one piece was very heartbreaking, playing a mom who would like forget that she just buried her daughter, like she couldn't, and so to me, it's like I have the luxury of this monologue and exploring all this stuff. So when I spark into what I call the joy of acting, that this is going to be fun.
Yeah.
And it's using my creativity. When I get into that, I also get out of the other head. So it doesn't matter. I wasn't even thinking about, I have to do a good job. I mean, that, always plays on it. But
Yeah.
I want to just take the material and I want to go get into this, take this mother and get into her head and express what she's going through. It was, and so that's what did it. Yeah. And I actually, just for some other reasons, but I came very close, but the director was like, oh my God, that's Helene, that's wonderful. And it was so funny because she kept her face off camera and I was like, all I could think of was like, Mr. Ziegfeld, or the voice in the back, or Zach in chorus line. But I told my friend, because I couldn't do the callbacks I was performing. Yeah. And I went, tell her, well, I wrote her a thank you, but I went, that was one of the best audition experiences I ever had. I mean, she was lovely. It was the director. It was like, oh my God, like this is what you remember when you do have those days that you're not feeling great, that can happen.
Those are the ones that can keep us, for me, that can keep me going.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, that's so wonderful. You're wonderful. I was just going to say something about what you said and I lost it. So it is what it is.
About the joy, about the creative.
It was about the audition and, oh my God, of course I forgot it.
Well, we were talking because you had said about being of service, which is very important.
Yes.
But I said that, and then also just finding the joy of acting, like creative.
Yeah.
And
it was something with regards to what you said, and I lost exactly what it was, but it doesn't matter because
we'll save it for next time.
Yeah, exactly. We'll save it for next time.
We'll come up to you at 3 a.m.
Seriously, I'm gonna be like, what the hell? Oh, this is what it was. It's so lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a real honor.
Thank you for being here. And so it's Perry Street, which is that you're shooting.
Perry Street is the web series.
Yes, that you're shooting, and you're shooting the next one next month. Is that right?
We're shooting the episode in December. Yes.
So, in December.
Yes.
Wow.
And we're going to be in the producer is also the lead, and we're in her apartment again.
Yeah.
And we have to have another COVID test. So yeah, she's being careful because she's high risk. So she said everybody needs a test.
Good.
We're going to practice all the stuff.
Good.
Luckily, see, with a lot of times I was going to say with TV and web series, you're dealing with a small cast.
Yes.
You're not dealing with extras and all that.
Exactly.
So they're probably for this episode, let's let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There might be 6 at the very most, not counting the director.
Yeah, yeah.
Or whatever.
See, that's great. It's
Yeah.
great, and you could still get amazing things done with a small crew.
Yeah.
You know,
You have to be creative, and we're just going to be very careful. That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
keep me posted. I want to hear how that goes. And so tell everybody where they can keep up with you, where they can find you. And please.
Yes, you can look for me. Okay.
Please do.
Not to be self-deprecating, but one of the things when I'm done this year with some classes and with the filming, I, even as an actor, have to start retweaking my biz materials, and that's very important. I tell actors all the time.
Yep.
And I'm going to be working with a coach too.
That's
to
great.
sell me. We all, like we said, you know what? I just want to mention one thing. You know what struck me a few years ago? I mean, now coaches are getting more mainstream.
Yeah.
Do you remember the movie Cinderella Man with Russell Crowe?
Yes.
And Paul Giamatti?
Yes.
Well, there was an episode. So, Russell Crowe's, like this. And Paul Giamatti is crouched. He's like, that's it. Do it here. And I'm like, I need someone like that for my career.
Yep.
Like, it hit me. And so actually she's now going to be a new character in our series. We all know each other, but she's great with the business. And so the reason I'm just saying
wonderful.
I just because, I think I have a nice website, but it's definitely in the middle of being retweaked. But
I get it.
Helene Galek, HeleneGalek.com. It's got all my stuff on it.
And I'll post it too, along with the website.
I'm
so
on
you guys,
Instagram, HS Galek, Facebook, Twitter, the usual. I do want to say something because I've gone back and forth between feeling good and not feeling good enough about this.
Please.
I've always been a good writer, but I excel in short pieces, whether it was for school newspapers, whether it was for essays. I used to do promotional writing at my sales job. I'm writing a book.
Congratulations.
Not thinking it's a bestseller. It's for a very small audience. It's a passion project. And I'm hitting snags now because I'm looking at it and judging it. I know I've got to stop it. So
but you know what? I'm so glad you just said that and said it out loud.
Yeah, I had to say it out loud because I noticed it. It's great. So I'm a horror fan. I was one of the original fans of Dark Shadows. When we had to run home from school, there were no devices.
Yep.
And there's funny because there's so many Facebook groups now, and I'm actually friendly with a lot of the actors on it. And it played such a big part in my teenage years, but I've noticed over my life, it keeps showing up. It keeps being entwined. So that's what I'm writing about, that this one show, which was supposed to be like so many things in the 60s, were supposed to be fleeting. But I said, much like the Beatles and jeans, they become an icon. They're an actual cultural icon. So
interesting. Beautiful. And I just want to I'll say something about this for a second, but you said about coaching and how you working with a coach and you didn't want to be self-deprecating, but you wanted to kind of give a heads up about how you feel about, I think, where your website is, where you're at with the way. And the thing is, I so identify with that. It's a work in progress. And what's amazing is that I coach other people and I could see so clearly for them. And it's easy for me to be supportive and this and that. But for me, it's like the support that one can give themselves is different than the support that we can seek outside of ourselves. It's just different. Same thing in therapy. I can have it swing around in here, but as soon as I say it out loud and I work through it and somebody asks me one question, it's like, oh, totally different way of thinking about it, No,
it's so true. You need the third eye.
Yes, exactly.
It's that third eye. And, but everybody, like you said, everybody needs that.
Yes. I think we all need support.
Don't stop from that. Yeah.
That's the human condition.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
Thank you so much for being here.
Love that you do. First of all, I have to say, I love the name of your podcast. It's Big Face, right?
Big Face, yeah.
That's so funny because I've always felt like I had a big face. I've always admired the little girl. I'm like, I have such a big face.
Well, it's so funny because I actually have a very small head, but my face, like I've always been, it's so expressive that like my brother, even if I'm being very serious, I say this all the time, and I'm like very passionate about what I'm saying, or if I'm upset, he literally his smile starts to crack and he starts to laugh and he's like, I'm sorry, I'm taking you seriously, but your face, he's like, you're so intense. Like, I can't even take you seriously.
That's hysterical. Oh my God, that's so funny.
And I've had to work on it for camera because it's my acting teacher would go, way too noisy. Your face is way too noisy for camera. And it's like,
yeah, I had to learn how to do that. And I had to keep the musical theater hands. I mean, now it's been years, so I haven't done it. First started, I was jazz hands.
Yeah.
And loud, yes, back to the back of the theater. But you know what I found too, because even when I was in an acting class 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And it was with a teacher I'd studied with a while. She would tell me things and I'd hear it up here, but I didn't know how to put it in here. And I'm like, how am I still doing so much? I feel like I'm talking like a zombie. I feel like this is what I felt like inside. And then I realized that I kind of have to, in the beginning, I had to feel like that to make it normal on camera.
Yes.
But now I can talk, I can do the self-tapes and not worry. And I said, it took a long time for those muscles. And that also is trust. That goes into what everything else we've been saying about auditions and performing and even casting. Is trust. I trust I'm going to get this done. Yeah.
That's 100%, because it's my acting teacher would always say, you're leaking energy in your face. You're leaking energy. Yeah. And it's because I'm not fully still within what I'm feeling, that it's like, it's nervousness just coming out. I'm doing too much to not sit still and feel for me.
Right. No. And I think I relate to that, but I also think it's, what hit me was you and I were probably, sometimes when you're younger, like I don't have siblings, and I know sometimes in a family, they say, well, you're the pretty one, you're the smart one, you're this, but I said, even in the friends group, and how I was cast in the beginning, when somebody needed a high energy or over the top or somebody willing to get crazy, they would pick me. And so even in like my friends group, like you said, you and I probably were sort of labeled, even with love and affection. Oh, you're the crazy. Oh, you're the wild one.
Oh yeah,
and so
100%.
We carry that. And then when, we're up for the different roles, we've gotten older, especially for camera work, and we may be up for somebody who's the shrink or the judge, somebody who's actually listening to the other people get nuts, or the straight person.
Yes.
That's where the trust is, that, I don't have to carry the old image with me anymore. I can be that was something I was afraid it would be boring without the bells and whistles.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's very scary for me. It's very scary to sit still with myself.
Yes. And you probably can, and it'll probably even just get easier, as time goes by. So,
God willing.
Yeah, totally. I believe in you.
Back at you, lady. You're so awesome.
Thank you so much. This was fabulous.
Thank you. Yeah, it made my day. Thank you so much.
You're a wonderful host and a wonderful interviewer.
Thank you.
It's not easy.
Thank you.
You make it look easy, but
that's what.
No, it's true though. But that's a pro. A pro makes it look easy. When you watch the Globetrotters, it looks like, oh, that's all.
Yeah, they're like,
that's all I need for basketball. Yeah,
I gotta say, I'm only as good as the guests that I have. It's like you allowed me to be connected with you. You make it easy, So thank you.
Well, thank you. This was so much fun.
Thank you. So guys, keep up with Helene. I'll put her info with the episode. And guys, thank you as always for watching, for listening, for being with us. We need to be connected to each other and to you guys, especially this time in this world. So thank you, and keep it going. Like, rate, subscribe, all that good stuff. It helps us. And we love you and appreciate you. And Helene, thank you so much.
Thank you. Yes, thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Yay.